So what an experienced manager, a revenue manager needs to know right now. And for that I thought maybe let's go back to where we started. Because we sometimes forget about this. So the evolvement of revenue management, I want to just go and quickly just look at it and what did we learn from the way that we handled things back in the day to now. The role from a revenue manager to a digital marketeer, why is that? And why I think that that is not being talked about enough. Of course, from a revenue management perspective, we've been talking about it for years, that we will go from revenue management to total revenue management. How do we do that? And why are we not there? And then finally, technology needs. So revenue management evolvement. I think back in the day, what we did, we had rec rates. I don't know, there's a few people that have no idea what rec rates are, I think, in this room. Me, myself, and I come from a time where I worked at a travel agency and we used telex. Anybody knows what a telex is? Telex machine? All these. If you look at a Western movie, it's like, but then a little bit modern. Yeah. But we had rec rates, so we had the highest rate, and we just gave a rebate from this highest rate to people, so specific segments, specific customers, or just like depending on the demand. That's how we did it. And we told our customers, here you go, our rec rate is that high, never would be able to give that rec rate to any of their customers other than when there's a big event being held. But you get 50% discount or 70% discount or 30% discount. And we expected our guests to be very happy with that. We even got a question, so what's the discount then? But then actually internet came, and I'm coming back to that point later on because I want to highlight this because I think actually that we are still a little bit in the rebate model in some parts of our revenue management applications. We did this for quite some time, but then internet came. And internet actually also came with just like much more of a transparency. So we all of a sudden just like got this question back. So we said, okay, the rec rate is this, you get a discount. Are you happy with that? And they said, no, because I found on this specific channel, I found a different rate. Aha, okay, well that must have been a cancellation on some kind of a campaign then, or I don't know what we lied about, but we had no idea. No idea what our rates actually came from. So we wanted to change that. So into our life came bar rates, best available rates. When we introduced that, it was a revolutionary thing actually. What, bar rates? Are we not going to give rebates? No, this is like a rate that is just the best available rate of the day. And we can change this a few times during the day. And it was like general managers, when we held this at a conference, when I worked at Scandic at that time, general managers were questioning us. Are our guests going to understand this? And the problem is, our guests always understand it very quickly. It's just us that always think that when we change something, that we think that our guests are not going to get this. But with this bar rate came also our problem. And this problem exists until today. It's called rate parity. Because we wanted to control this. We did not want to have guests that said, okay, but I found a different rate somewhere else. How is this possible? So we said we want to just have rates that just make sense. But that was easier said than done. We still noticed that as soon as we start working with campaigns on the OTA channels, it's a whole different ballgame. And then you have distribution channels that undercut us anyway. So rate parity is still quite an issue. And it will remain an issue, I think, for some time over. But that's where we come from. So you can say internet changed quite a lot. In the beginning, there was no other possibility than to book a room than to call. I had maybe also just like I think when I booked my holidays, I went to a travel agency, and I found it completely acceptable to just like sit there, just like and wait for half a day in a waiting room. It's like okay, and then somebody helped me book my travel, or I went to London and I had the Lonely Planet with me, and I just like to try to find out okay which hotel can I book, and we did that on the spot. You realize how old I am? Fax made a change as well, and I felt I was on the fair, and I thought it was like magical. You have this machine here, you put paper in it there, and it comes out there exactly the same way. Fax is now just like completely gone. Internet changed it all. So internet changed the fact also that people just could find like different rates in different channels, but it also just meant that we were finding new distribution channels, the OTAs. In the beginning we had quite a lot. Now we have 2. But they are just like a little bit more expensive, you can say. Commission rates are quite high. We did not really know that in the beginning. It took some time for us to find out. It was actually when Calabri Labs came into our lives, and then they said they gave us like a calculation. They did from 2009 till I think 5-6 years later, and they showed hotels from that point they had increased their total revenue management also double. The fact that the problem was the distribution rate had just like increased even more. So what is it if you have like a distribution cost that just like takes a much higher, much bigger amount of the cake? Your margins start to diminish. When that came into our lives, it was also revolutionary actually. So why did we not understand that? And I think actually what happens is the distribution is being handled by revenue managers. And what do revenue managers do, especially then? We handle revenue. We did not have to care about the profit or any of the costs involved to it. So that's the beginning of starting to talk about profit management. I think along the way we've forgotten a little bit about it, because we talk now about profit management in the sense of total revenue management and trying to control the cost involved to revenue streams coming from conference and restaurants. But I think also we need to understand that it also has to do with trying to control the rates, of trying to control cost of sales. We do talk about that, but it also does mean that we go from revenue management to digital management. So what a revenue management needs to understand, all about digital. We need to be a bit more into the digital marketeer side. And I hear you say, but that's marketing, that's not really going to work. But I think that's also why we talk about breaking silos. It's not that a revenue manager takes over a marketing manager's role. As a matter of fact, most of the revenue managers are not really that creative. I can be creative when it comes to my strategies, but I have difficulties in making nice banners. I mean, we started producing nice banners when we actually hired a marketing manager, because I mean, I was lousy at that. So making nice packages, being able to have like a marketing strategy, it still sits with marketing. But a revenue manager is not allowed to say, I have no idea about marketing. A marketing manager can never say, I have no idea about distribution or about what a revenue manager does. That's, I think, about why we talk about breaking the silos. So yeah, if you want to know about digital marketing from a revenue perspective, search engine optimization. If we try to move away from the dependence of the OTAs, and we want to move this in our distribution strategies, we want to move this over to booking direct, we need to understand how you book direct. So search engine optimization is one of the things that we want to know about. How we do ads, or if we want to have ads, which ads we want to have. Meta search, and meta search is not easy to handle. It's actually quite an important, quite an expensive channel if you don't handle it right. Sonia's going to talk a little bit more about meta search as well. Which markets to target? I mean, that's very much of a revenue management thing. And I think there's a challenge into it that more revenue managers, I mean, I'm talking to you, I know that you're different, all of you revenue managers here, but for a lot of revenue managers, we have not really embraced this digital marketing thing yet. And I think it's a good thing to just like start there. And breaking the silos, people keep on talking about it and I'm getting tired of it, because I think that we got a lot about breaking silos, especially between the commercial departments. I think revenue management, sales and marketing, we work together, and I'm generalizing here, much better than what we did a few years ago. But when I came from Scandic, and that was quite some time ago, if I started to talk about like marketing campaigns, you had like a marketing department that said, that's not revenue management. That would never be just like a case anymore, but that was years ago. Oh, where am I? Now, of course, I mean, if you go from revenue management to total revenue management, that's also a nice thing. We've been talking about this for years, and I think revenue managers are getting just like a bit of the blame for the fact that we haven't started with it. But to be honest, did we have the tools until now? Until now, we're starting to get actually maybe tools that can help us measure TADR and total revenue. Still, we have property management systems that are not that good at giving us the reports, but we can connect to these property management systems. And the more people start to just like produce these kind of reports, the better it gets. Because I mean, it might be, it gets better and it gets less expensive if we get more competitors in that way. So this thing with profit, we are starting to be able to do something with it. But total revenue is not the same as profit management. And I can tell you, sometimes I think that a hotel can have like a person that is called total revenue manager. Is there a total revenue manager here in the room? Am I going to insult anybody? No? Good. In my experience, and I'm generalizing because I need to do that, total revenue management is very much about handling room revenue and conference revenue. And you have a total revenue manager that is just like in close contact with the group department. So group department get a nice big request and goes to the revenue manager, and revenue says to the revenue manager, okay, what rate can I give here? And what does the revenue manager says? You know what? You can give 50% discount. I mean, weren't we moving away from that? I mean, we're still there. I mean, and we are a booker of events. It's really so. I mean, every time we get like a quote, it just states the discount. I can give you an example. Our event on the 30th of January. We go to all the venues that would be suitable, that can just like take 300 people with like mingle and everything that we need. And then we have like, especially the ones, the hotels that do have a total revenue manager. We get these quotes and we just like, we look at, okay, what is the cost going to be? And then we go back, because usually we hear that, okay, we would really like you to have us here because it's hoteliers coming there. It's quite nice for a venue to be showing their face. So what we get is then, okay, we make a comparison and then we go back to these venues and we say, okay, I'm sorry, but you double the price. You're very, very, very much over the price that we get from other venues. And I'm kidding you not, it can be sometimes double. And what kind of answer do we get back? What do you think? But we already gave you a large discount. And I don't care, because you're still much more expensive. But I think also this is a little bit the issue. If a revenue manager gives a discount, there's no booker, no group booker that dares to say like, okay, but let's go to a revenue manager, because the price is set. And I think also it's way too little information. If you want to apply revenue management on conference, it's a different ball game. It's all about lead time. Conference revenue management is not about price only. It's much more about inventory management. So my best sale, and it can be for a hotel just like the biggest meeting room, together with overnight stay, dinner, these kind of things. And not only the biggest meeting room, but also the biggest meeting room with the optimal amount of people in it, because F&B is also just like a revenue. There is these, and that's for every location is different. There is just like a probability of making this sale. The lead time is always much longer. So if you get like, if there's still a possibility to get your best sale, don't go and sell your biggest meeting room for a half day, a day meeting. Don't just like give away your group rooms. Don't give away too many of your hotel rooms, because I mean anything that you sell, and if you get this best request and you need to say no because of the fact that you lack inventory, you had inventory but you gave it away to somebody else, that is actually very damaging. So for us it is just like trying to get this probability for making the sale still. And you can adapt your cancellation policies to it and so on, but it starts there. So it's your probability of sales, but also daring to say no. It's the worst thing that we know, right? It's like, okay, hi, I want to have a meeting room. Okay, what is it? Yeah, just a day meeting, half day meeting. And I'm quite price sensitive, so I want to have a discount. And you have the meeting room right in front of you. It's available, and then you have to say no. That's just like very irritating for commercial people like us, but we need to dare to say no. And it's also scary because we think that there might be a request coming afterward, but we're not sure. It's all about statistics, and that's actually what you have revenue managers for. Oh, something is with my slides. Then you have F&B revenue management. F&B revenue management is also a very different way of applying revenue management. And we have a speaker here today that's really going into something that goes even further than what I can say about, what I thought to say about F&B revenue management here. F&B revenue management is more like cost-based pricing at this moment. It starts to evolve because we're starting to get like menus that are just like digital, so we can just increase or decrease the price of a menu just as we go. But most people have like a paper menu. And what we try to do with F&B revenue management is do this. This is called menu engineering. So we try to see. And this is, I mean, I could only find a good example from an American slide. So sorry for the American dollars, but yeah, you get my grip. So this is like here. There's just like on this left side, these are the menus that are not being bought that often. So the less popular ones. When we go over to here, these are being sold quite a lot. At least that should be the so. And then on top there is just like the ones that are just like the highest margins, and then the ones below are the lowest margins, and you put them in a Boston matrix. And when you start doing this, first of all, you need to calculate what is my margin per dish. Secondly, you need to also just understand, okay, which dishes are the best for me, and try to get people to buy that dish. And there are several ways of doing that, but that's the way you do menu engineering, or you F&B revenue management. It starts there, looking at the margins. So menu engineering, but also try to increase seat turns, and that's also a nice thing. So increase staff efficiency. It goes very much into cost efficiency if you want to apply that. But we do have a challenge there, and it's actually a little bit about, well, knowledge of the revenue management, but also just like in our projects, in doing these kinds of total revenue management things, we find it always a bit more difficult to talk to the F&B department. First of all, it's hierarchical, and secondly, it's like, so what are you doing here? You've never been in a kitchen. You can't talk creme fraiche with me. But of course we can. Of course we can. But yeah, I don't know how to make the best fish soup, even though my fish soup is really good. But it's a cooperation. I think here we really are talking about breaking silos. Not on the other departments anymore. I mean, don't let anybody tell you that you're not good at that. What do we need? Actually quite a lot. Or maybe not that much. I think revenue management tools, we can apply revenue management without a tool. We can do this with an Excel file. For some of our hotels, we are forced to have an Excel file actually, because their systems just like don't really work with our systems. But it's nice. A revenue management tool, it makes you much more intelligent. It makes you faster. So it's a nice thing to have. Marketing tools. If you want to handle meta search, for instance, or if you want to just like personalize messages, these kinds of things, there are tools for it. Oh. Distribution tools like channel managers, CRSs, you know them. Everybody has them. But reporting tools. I mean, it's not acceptable that we don't have that much reports, but also that we have reports that just like state the facts in a nice graph. I want to have a report that also just like says, this is what you do with it. And reputation tools. I mean, don't forget about that, because reputation really has an impact on our pricing. Wait until the end and you'll find out why. Why are you? So it's a cooperation between each other. That's, I think, the most important thing for moving revenue management further. And now we can go to the next slide. Thank you.